Welcome to a new series I'm doing on his day, and I thought for the first episode we have a guest who's very familiar with that concept. I'm someone who waxes lyrical about on his day players, but another man that has an interest in that is Lyes Bouzidi. Welcome, Lyes.
My boy, appreciate you for having me on the channel. I've been seeing the growth on here, and it's sick to see that you're continuing what you did on TikTok. And like we were saying off camera, man, this is the original brainchild from Tiki Taka made. So I'm excited to see it on big YouTube now.
Yeah, I mean, I took the piss out of Pogba in that video talking about on his day players, but I do enjoy when those players that perhaps maybe don't deliver so often do just pop up and they turn into Ronaldinho for the day. William was one of them for me. But I've got a few questions for you in today's episode. The first one is, what player on his day do you play as? Now, I've not had the privilege of playing with you, Lyes, but I think it's criminal that walking around with a name like Lyes Bouzidi and not playing ball for a living. I feel like you've let the name down, mate, because you've passed the name test with flying colours.
That's funny, man. I mean, look, on his day for me was a long time ago now. I can't lie. I haven't played on my day in a very long time now. But when I was actually playing regularly, for my school team and for my team in New York as well too. I always played midfield, as number 8. Because I'm a good passer of the ball, good calm on the ball. I had a decent engine when I was younger, not so much anymore. I wasn't the fastest and the most flary, so I wasn't really playing on the wing, but mostly as a number 8. Now I always tell people my favorite player when I was a kid growing up was Fabregas, but I'm gonna be very humble here, and I did not play like Cesc Fabregas. What I will.
I don't know. It's on his day.
Yeah, well, on his day, maybe I had one day in my life where I played like Fabregas. But if I'm being completely honest here, a player I really admired when I was growing up was Marchisio at Juventus, because for me, again, he wasn't the most technical in that Juve midfield. That was definitely Pirlo, or actually Pogba, funnily enough. He wasn't the most athletic. That was probably Vidal. But in terms of just a guy who knew his role, never really lost it, won the ball back, could make runs into the box, got himself the odd goal. I think when I was at my very best, at 18 or 17, that was probably the player that on my day, I probably kind of played so it's probably not the most you might have somebody on here who says oh, on my day I was playing like a Ronaldinho or something like that. But I'll be honest, I'll be humble. My kind of player when I was playing is if you want to call it the balancer, number 8. That was probably my position.
That's interesting. That's interesting to think about. I would have thought going off name test. I thought technically secured, maybe an Iniesta type.
Yeah, I wish.
Maybe not to that level. Yeah, it's an interesting one, man. I've always thought that with your name specifically, that's a. You know, Zinedine Zidane's not going to be a bricklayer or a banker, is he?
And I always say that on Diego Armando Maradona was born to play football, man. He was never going to be working at Tesco.
Absolutely. I like that though. Marchisio, it's a nice niche shout as well.
Yeah, if you get another guy on your channel that says they play like Marchisio, I'll be surprised. I'll tell you that.
Oh, yeah, hopefully not. We can whack him in the On His Day Hall of Fame. But onto that, in terms of players on their day that you enjoyed, it could be a Manchester United player, it could be anyone, to be honest. Who's someone that maybe jumped out at you as a player that perhaps, if they just had that consistency, they'd have been held in completely different conversations? Who's someone that brought joy to you when you watched them, that you just thought, why can't you just do this a bit more?
I think there's probably, I'll give you a past and a present. I won't say Pogba because I know that's your guy. That's your claim to fame on his day. I would say the current one I look at right now is Ousmane Dembele. I think Ousmane Dembele is one of those players that is so naturally talented and actually so athletic as well too, that when everything clicks for him on any given day, he's literally playing, I've said it before on Twitter, at his best, he can play like a Ballon d'Or contender. A player capable of winning the Ballon d'Or. For me, when he's playing and everything is firing and he's in the right headspace, he plays at that level. But as we all know, that level you could see it once every 3 months. That's the definition of on his day. And I think he's picked up some good form for PSG this season in particular. But they're playing against Barcelona soon. He could drop the biggest stinker of his life. But on his day previously, I'll give you a United one, right? For me, it was Nani. Honestly, Nani.
Oh.
When he came to United, I think we looked at the Portuguese winger with flair. We looked at the sporting connection. We looked also Nani was a very athletic guy too, and thought, oh, maybe are we looking at another Cristiano Ronaldo? And with the benefit of hindsight, I think we can definitely say no, that didn't end up happening. But the frustrating thing about Nani is that on his day, he was capable of giving you those kinds of moments. And for me, the moment I'll never forget, the game that like I looked at this guy and thought, wow, if you can ever make it click, we're looking at a world beater, was the game against Arsenal. It was actually the season after Cristiano Ronaldo left.
Yeah.
And we won 3-1 at the Emirates. And he dropped this performance that, honestly, like, I'm going to sound crazy here, but it was as good as any performance Ronaldo had given us at United. Like, it was of that level, in my opinion. He had end product to his game. He was destroying his fullback on the day. I can't remember who it was. It might have been Armand Traore at the time, but
it was a number of them, wasn't it? Because it was that goal, obviously. That Almunia, what a bloke for pushing that in.
One of the worst goalkeepers I've ever seen play for a top club, by the way. I was saying that the other day.
Yeah, it was shocking. But I'm glad he pushed that goal in, because the work Nani did down that wing, which it just chopped them up completely, didn't he? Like through the middle of them. And was it a breakaway goal I think you guys got, where he was just electric?
Yeah, with him and Rooney on the other end. But yeah, I mean, that performance was staggering. That goal everyone remembers, right? That chop that he did, like the way he like lifted the chop over their legs. Like I've tried that chop a million times, because when I was a kid, I tried that in the back. I couldn't do it one single time. I had no idea how he did it. And like the little shimmy and then the chip, I think it was a deflection, to be fair, or Almunia kind of parried it in himself. But I always remember as well, too, the commentary, like the punditry after that game, because I think it was Jamie Redknapp and I think Andy Gray was on there as well, too. And like the way they were talking about him after the game, I'll never forget the commentary that they were saying. And they were saying like, oh, this guy, when he's on it, that's Messi class, that's Ronaldo class. And Jamie Redknapp basically says like, I think it's actually, it's not even fair for Nani on this day to even compare him to Ronaldo and Messi. That's Nani class. Like that's what Nani's capable of doing on his day. So I'll never forget that commentary. I'll never forget that game. And Nani, like he had some games, especially the big games too. He would pop up with a screamer from 40 yards out, a 30-yard curler, could dribble the entire team. He had that kind of natural ability and that flair. But as is the subject of this video, on his day, man, it didn't come often enough.
Yeah, he really was one of those kind of players. Like, I remember a screamer he scored against us actually under AVB, and Czech didn't even see it. Like it just flew past him.
I remember from the right with his right foot, right?
Yeah, but he could kind of go either side, couldn't he, as a winger? And he had to adapt, especially with Ronaldo was in that side, that 07, 08, 08, 09 growing into it. But Nani he was certainly one of those players. And Jamie Redknapp as well, it's an interesting comment. And Mourinho, obviously, you'll know, he thinks Jamie Redknapp's a very brilliant football brain.
Jamie Redknapp is a brilliant football brain.
So yeah, calling him Nani class is an interesting one. But he's in that category, man. He's in that echelon of.
Yeah, I think he was like, that's Ronaldo at his best. That's Messi at his best. He's like, that's not even fair to say to Nani. That's Nani at his best. Like he was unbelievable sometimes.
Yeah, he really was. But we often encounter players that, for some reason, it's like they circle the calendar. They look at. It's usually your club, and I think, I don't turn up for 36 games of the season, but for these teams, I'm up for it. And everyone's guilty of having those players. You just think, I don't want to play them. But was there anyone that maybe jumped out for you that when United played them, you thought, why is this guy turning up? What does he have against us? Why is he so up for this?
I mean, there's one right now at the moment who every single time he plays us, he scores. It's Pascal Gross. I think he has 7 goals against United in his entire career, and like probably has like 40 goals total in his career. Like 7 of them are against United. Like he just makes it a personal mission whenever he plays us. But I don't know, like when I was really growing up, I don't remember really a player that every single time, like it was a weird, like Agbon Lahore, funny enough, like he would give us a few frights every once in a while, but nothing like crazy. I'll say there was a period post Fergie where Swansea were really Man United's bogey team.
Right.
See, I think we lost them 4 times in a row. Like I think they might have done the double against us back-to-back seasons, or they might have won 3 in a row. And there were 2 guys that were always haunting us. And funny enough, that Swansea team, they had an on-his-day player in Montero, because every time he played Arsenal, he literally destroyed, whether it was Monreal, Callum Chambers, he gave them nightmares.
Montero, just to interject, he killed Ivanovic. He killed Ivanovic's career. That day, that was the day that Ivanovic, it was like, okay, you've been a great servant at this club, but it's done. He absolutely murdered him.
Montero, man, he was one of those guys too. And there was another guy too on, I think it was Mo Barrow. He gave Swansea hell as well too for Swansea. But us in particular, I remember Gylfi Sigurdsson and Ki Sung-young. Those guys against Man United turned into Xavi and Iniesta every single time they played us, bro. Every time they played us, they would just like turn up and look like, oh my days, man, problems. Like I remember the free kick that Sigurdsson banged in against us at Old Trafford, where like Herrera's on the line and he comes off the line and Sigurdsson puts it right where Herrera was standing. Like they gave us some real problems, man. But to be honest, as a United fan, I think I'm pretty lucky to say like we haven't had like these like kind of obscure players just like turn up like not that I can remember. I mean, now we got Salah, who basically treats us like every single game is like a personal death wish. But outside of that, no, I think I've been pretty lucky as a United fan.
No, that's a great shout. They were a bit of an honest day team though back in the day, Swansea. Like they had a good run for a number of years. Even got the Carling Cup, didn't they?
Couple of good dudes, man. Honestly, when they were on it, Swansea were a fun watch.
Yeah, and they brought us Michu, obviously. He's a bit of an honest season, to be fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining me, Lyes. It was fascinating getting a bit of an insight there into the players that you've seen on their day over the years and who's jumped out at you in that sense. But yeah, mate, keep doing what you're doing. If you're not familiar with Lyes, which you probably are, and if you're not, wake the fuck up. Go check out Lyes if you haven't. I'll leave his links in the description below. But yeah, thanks guys for joining on his day. It's been a pleasure, Lyes.
It's been a pleasure for me too, man.
Good stuff. All right. Anyway, guys.